Yes, peace and love. Let's ride this into the night, you know. I was just reading, somebody asked, what do reptilians look like? You know, do we fear them? Well, you know, you should see what the soul look like. Shit. The soul is the scariest shit in the world. You think a reptilian is scary. Mm-mm-mm. But you know what? Give you a good example. Look at C.J. Jung. They got the Red Book Diary shit, or he just got a book called Red Book Diary. But I think he got them like in hippie type form or graffiti looking characters. But excuse me. If you hear how he speak about the soul, that shit got him scared to death. Everybody's scared to death of all that stuff, the soul world. You know what I'm saying? Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley lost his mind fucking with that soul world, you know? And I wouldn't say he lost his mind because he was pretending to everybody. But he did go through mad issues. I'm telling you, so much stress to that stuff. Woo. I'm still going strong though. I finished it. I completed all of them and I'm back, you know, and I know that for a fact. So, you know, don't test me. I like to play with the astral world. You know, that's what this is about. Since we're talking about the reptilian and how it looked, let me see how. Yo, it's funny because I have to laugh. You know, with myself, I was right in the same neighborhood right here too. Like this block corner when everything happened, it was just drizzling. And like I'm telling you, man, all of a sudden something just said, look up. And I turned and looked right into the sun. It was midday though. And you see the sun behind you right there? That shit just like it opened up and I saw the sun just like a bezel and it was bright and fluorescent and pretty, not even hurting my eyes. It was soothing and beautiful. And the clouds looked like they were started moving and faces started coming in. I looked away and was like, nah, I don't believe this. What the hell is this? Because I tried sun staring and none of that shit worked. I could barely sun stare. I probably did it for 2 seconds and gave it up. Did it 4 times in my life. But this now was a beautiful thing. And I looked again and it got even more pretty and I saw purple. And I'm like, whoa, what's this? Well, anyways, when I went home, all of a sudden now everything started acting mad funny. With this, it's like that night I told you I was star staring and it was like my wall disappeared. Yes, yes. And with my wall disappearing, it was like well, I can't just say my wall disappeared. That's too fast and simple. To make it more understandable then. When I'm looking through my window at the star, we got into like a stare down where I'm just staring hard at it like you would do your sun staring. Excuse me. And with doing so, it's like my wall started flickering in and out, like getting black or silver, disappearing and then come back. And I'm like, nah, what the fuck? But I'm still holding the stare down, but it's like I'm locked now in a magnetic field. But anyways, what wound up happening is staring. I noticed my walls was disappearing till I was in total darkness. There was no wall. I was laying on my bed when this occurred, and I was in total darkness now. And it was just that starlight, just like in the last video I posted, where you just see the star, a little circle like a tunnel. Yeah, that's all it was, and I'm just going towards it at full speed, like you see all them little orb lights and stuff traveling, like when Star Trek is going into its warp speed or something like that. But anyways, it was that experience that I first started with the wall. Something funny happened. The next funny thing was the following day, I start seeing Komodo dragons, you know, the actual Komodo dragons walking around in my walls. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So now it's like I see them and I'm like, yo, I may be seeing them for maybe 3-4 days, just like from a distance, like what the fuck is this all the time? So eventually now I get some balls, like it's telling me in my psychic to come over there. I'm like, hell no, I'm not going over there. But eventually I go over there and I touch the wall. At first, it was like, they looked so ferocious, man, like they was gonna tear me up. But eventually, I touched the wall and I could see my hand going through a little bit. The way it worked, it's not like your hand is going through. It's like you go into a double vision, and all of a sudden you have a double body, and your ethereal body is the hand that is going through. So like, if you was to touch the wall, your hand would have been maybe 2 to 3 inches or 5 inches, and not even 5 inches, that's way too long for the ether. It was probably like 2 to 3 inches into the wall. If you take your hand off the wall 2 to 3 inches, that ethereal hand is touching the tip of the wall. So that's what happens. Every time I go and I look and I touch the wall, it's like my body will double vision, and then the second me will come in and that hand is going through. And I watch now as the Komodo dragon came and it suddenly touched my hand. It felt like some electricity. I was scared to death, and that took me about a week and a half just to do what I tell you, but I did it. But during the course of this, it was like the weirdest things was happening to me. I was going into, this clouds was taking over. I was seeing these images in the clouds of not just the dragon, but I was seeing all these warriors, these ancestors, these clowns, all these different, archons, like from the tarot cards. And so with that happening, I used to be observing them, and I had my hand on the windowsill and observing out the window. Then all of a sudden, my hand started becoming numb, like the prickly feeling. And I see my ethereal hand now. It felt like I shrunk and went down in my body. And I went into my ethereal hand, and it went down through the wall. And when it went down through the wall, my feet was down through the floor to about my ankle. But I'm seeing my ethereal body, and it's in my ethereal body, so it seems so real to me. And with that now, it's like a little boy is in the cloud. A little boy was the person who connected with me, and this African woman with an afro. When this whole event started with a funny sexual escapade, that eventually the little boy now is calling me in the clouds and telling me to come, and I'm like, nah, how could I do that? And he's like, just come on. And sure enough, from when I was half in the wall and half into the floor, it was like now the bottom of my feet all of a sudden had ear shocks on it, and I'm going up and down. As I'm floating up and down now, it's like my eyes start getting ectoplasm or some white milk or protein start coming in my eyes as a squint. And all of a sudden, it was like I'm there, right there in the cloud, floating through the clouds. And as long as I did not move, not even barely breathe, and hold that frequency, I'm floating straight through. Seeing everything. Those clouds is all cities, dimensions. Those is worlds. You see, a long time ago when this first started happening was when I just started like observing the 9/11 clouds and all the fires that was taking place at the World Trade Center. And I noticed that they started looking like these beings that was from these worlds. So I out the gate, I knew who they was. The fire was the lion or tiger, and the smoke was the gorilla and or the Olmec people. So all of a sudden it started telling me that either they're feeding the people to these clouds or this fire, or the clouds and fire are bringing the people the souls and taking them as they die. Well, I started observing now in the sky how it was groups of clouds. They're all in groups. And each group belonged to a different species of people. And they go over the groups of people and they like dissipate into the groups of people. And so I started like, wow, okay. So it started telling me that each person have like a leader. This leader is the big cloud, and it floats through. And then the city itself is formed within the cloud. It's like a cleft in it. And in the cleft of it, you'll see all the peoples, and they go to their species, and they either pick up souls or they either replenish souls or whatever the case may be. So that's how I first started learning it. And while this is happening, it's telling me psychically all these things, like it's talking to me. You know, I don't want to drift off the subject, but what wound up happening is all this was so much fear for me. But the fear is what gave me the ability to do all of those things. I know that now because I don't have fear so much and I'm not so powerful as I was. It was like being scared to death, like under the bed scared, gave me the ability and sight to see beyond sight, hearing to hear beyond here, and perception to perceive things that nobody else could perceive. I was scared to death. And so now with that in mind, back to what I was saying now, these cloud cities, they started showing me that each cloud city is like a different dimension, and people live in them as subatomic particles, and they could turn into like Stay Puft creatures or whatever and actually interact with you. It took me from looking at a distorted, regular, puffy cloud and knowing it, but couldn't prove it. Because in my eyes, it's an overlay that showed it to me, but if I recorded on a video, you wouldn't see nothing but a normal puffy cloud. Till like a year later, that actually when I stare down the clouds, they will transmute, like if they was by the sun, into these beings. It was like I was the sun. If you ever notice clouds by the sun, they transmute into actual faces and shapes and forms. Well, anyways, I was transmuting them myself, and all the energies were coming to me. Sometimes so much energy will come into me if I touch the bars of my window. It shocked me. Shocked me, not like a static shock, like straight electricity. Like you could go, it'd be like zzz, and you could hear it. My ears start ringing, and I'd just be shaking. So that was my first encounters with those. And then I learned that from that, these now the leaders or whatever you would see, I say, you know, some of them, they assume avatars, like you see Maud, if you see flying through the sky, that's Thoth. And you see a lot of them with, excuse me, dragons. And they ride on dragons. You see that in the Gotias too. If you look up the Gotia, you see those same Astral and all Astrate riding on these beasts and dragons. That's the clouds they're depicting, just like the Egyptians is depicting the clouds, you know. But you have to have the spiritual eye. The spiritual eye is when they tell you you're twice born. You know, that's a real event that took place for me. Messing with these dragons and the orbs and watching this 9/11 shit, I started asking too many questions, being too nosy. Started going to Hiroshima, and I would see the same cloud things. I see these orbs. I could literally see through the picture and actually go to when the experience happened. I started looking at the scars on the victim, and I see the demons on them, and I see their eyes. I always caught eyes. And so from there, the dragon seemed to like made itself known to me. You know, I started having experiences with this, telling everybody, look at the dragon, showing in the cloud. Sure enough, man, one day my neighbor made a fire to burn some leaves, and this just put chills through me that night. When I opened my door and saw the leaves burning, my body started shivering, scared to death. So I'm like, what is this? And you know, I'm not scared of leaves burning, but it was something wrong, and I sensed the dragon. It just was like the dragon, and I closed the door quick. And all of a sudden, let me tell you, the next day when I looked outside, it's like a long ash path all the way up to my doorway, and it just had like a pathway. I don't know how it comes from my neighbor across the fence, through the garden perfectly into a shape, and evenly along if you was to see my whole balcony, it's right in the middle, up on the trees, and then it's an ash line and go right to my doorstep. And you know what? I didn't even acknowledge it like I did, but the following day, I felt this feeling coming over me like I'm floating out my body. I'm on the phone and I had to drop the phone. All of a sudden, I tried to run to the bathroom to put water on my face, and it felt like my legs is going out. But this is not nothing normal, because I'm floating. There's something pulling me out my body. I'm calling my shorty like, yo, this is it. I'm dead. I'm gone. I'm at the sink now, dropping, my legs is going, and it's something yanking the shit out of me, out my body. When I say it's taking me out my body, I'm being forced out. I'm like, nah, this is unreal. I ran out my house, ran out all the way into the streets. It went down a little. I came back about 3 minutes later, it started, but this time my legs buckled and I fell out on the floor. It just kept yanking on me, yanking on me. I lost all consciousness of myself. Hold on, this is gonna end right now. I'll be